Omid and Kojo Show.
So, why don't you let the people know, if anyone doesn't know, who are you?
Alright, so for those of you who don't know me, my name is William Thomas Coneys, aka Will Coneys, aka Kid Wolf, and whatever other nickname you remember me by, such as Will the Kid Darkness, you know.
Wolf Boy.
Wolf Boy.
AKA the Kid Wolf Darkness, yeah. Wolf Boy.
Mr. Scrolls.
Oh yeah,
Mr.
King
Scrolls.
Of the Scrolls.
Oh, if anybody from like the early days remembers, there was Will the Beast, the legendary Will Coneys. We've got tons of them.
Yeah, so Will's a tricker from the DMV, and he's really good at tricks. So let's have a talk about some of that. So Will, you were mentioning in the live stream yesterday how concrete tricks have kind of helped your training, and I wanted to ask you something about that. This is just with tricks in general, were you ever scared of tricks? Because I've met some people who right from the start just weren't scared. So were you scared of doing tricks on concrete and just tricks in general, or not?
Yes, I was. I absolutely was. So before I actually got into tricking, like, officially, I used to do all of my tumbling on, like hard top, grass, whatever. And there were times where, it scared the living, like, life out of me because, on grass and dirt, you kind of have a forgiveness. Like, the ground will kind of bounce back at you just a bit. And with grass, you kind of have a cushion. Pavement, you have literally, like, 0.0000001% rebound. So you learn pretty quickly what not to do. And you learn pretty quickly to full send if you're going to full send. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't really until I got into like a martial arts school with mats for the first time, and that was when I did martial arts. When I actually started martial arts when I was like 15, that I realized how kind of sketchy I had been training on concrete. And then when you crash the first time, I think you kind of get over it a little bit. That's what I did, and that's just where my training was because I also didn't have a place to train at that point. I didn't get into a martial arts school until I was 15, and I didn't get on my first spring floor to train until I was 18, I think.
Well, how long have you been tricking now?
I've been tricking for, I have to count it out now. I think I started when I was 16. I'm 30 now, so a little over 15 years. Sorry, I had to get my mind together because it's been a while. Unofficially, we'll say like about 20 years. Or 50. I added another 5 years, we'll say 20, whatever. I don't know.
What do you mean officially and unofficially?
Officially, so I was a backyard tricker. I was a backyard tricker before I knew it.
You were a what?
I was a backyard tricker. I had no clue of tricking until Gabby, Renee, and Javier showed me what it was.
Well, what were you doing in the backyard?
I was doing like Power Ranger kicks and flips, bro. Like Ninja Turtle shit. Like I was actually trying to be Sonic and run up the wall and flip off and shit. That was the time. Sonic is my dude though. Like, every time he ran up the wall, I had to go outside and try that shit, and it was great. It was awesome.
Imagine every time when you're watching the TV show, every time you see him run up the wall, you're just like, hang on. You don't understand. Every time. You don't understand. Like it was a constant thing. Like I almost got to be banned from going outside because that's all I wanted to try. So, understand. But banned from going outside,
Yeah, this was my childhood, bro. This was my childhood. But yeah, no, like I was doing like the kicks and stuff before like I knew exactly what it was, and then in high school, around high school area time, Gabby and Javier and Renee, they were like, "Yo, dude, you should come try this tricking thing," and I was like, huh? Like, what are you talking about? And that's when they showed me like what it actually was. And they were like, you've been doing all of these moves, you're just not having the technique for them. And I was like, wait, there's something for this? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, fucking down. Like, I was down for it. And you know, the biggest thing is that we actually did not have the money for me to actually start classes up until a unfortunate happenings within the family. And it was at that time where, you know, I needed a place to be to kind of let out my anger and let out my frustrations. Because unfortunately it was 2 deaths back to back, like literally within like 2 months of each other. It was my grandfather who actually started my love of martial arts. And then my baby brother passed away 2 months after that. And so my mom, you know, she saw like what it was doing to me. So she actually, you know, pulled together the money along with my grandmother, and they put me into martial arts classes. And once they did that, everything else just came to be. You know what I mean? So it's been a road. It's been a road.
I feel like that's quite a common thread for a lot of people, though, where any kind of, I don't know, difficult situation that they may be in ends up being kind of offset against this really physical sport that you can throw yourself into, whether it just be martial arts and then it leads to tricking, or you just start straight off with tricks. Because I had that. I was an angry little teenager for various reasons. Kojo can vouch for that. Just had all this pent up rage, and then I'd just go to the gym and just let it all out, and it was the best medicine.
Dude, no, I agree. I agree. Like that was legit. Like once I started martial arts, like all of that rage and all of that like just sadness kind of propelled everything forward. And then it also helped for me to find people who actually like, you know, wanted to be there, you know what I mean, and wanted to help me build on that. So yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Like,
well, I want to come back to
something needed.
So I want to come back to like the community side that you were just touching on there, but I think I'd like to hear about how it's changed over the years, because obviously it kind of, when you started, it sounds as though it became a little bit of a crutch and like a coping mechanism for any kind of negative feelings that you'd have been having, and then using that as like fuel for your training. How has that changed over the years for you? Because obviously I've experienced the same thing, and it has definitely changed for me, but I still draw upon that kind of that rage and that kind of wildness. And it does help with training, but how about for yourself? How is that?
So I honestly, I will still pull on it when I need to. I think for like harder hitting tricks, I will definitely pull on it if it's needed. Yeah. But in terms of rage, I've kind of gone the route where the rage can be there, but it's not as needed as it was in the beginning, because at a certain point you kind of, and I guess maybe this is just me, but you learn to forgive the rage, and you forgive the past for being what it was that helps you get to where you are now. And you learn to draw from being in your own zone, in your own space, in your own, like, I guess, compatibility with life. And as a result, you learn to kind of draw that power and use that to push to where you want to be with your tricks and how your style is. But like, if you're gonna full send something, yeah, you definitely can still pull from that rage. I do it all the time. But it's also gotten me into trouble, so that's why I tend to be very cautious of when I do it.
When he becomes the wolf.
Oh, when I become the wolf, all bets are off, and I will do some extremely dumb shit. Like, yeah, there's been times where that's happened. Like, the funny part about it is, you know, there have been times where like I'll be in the gym like by myself, and you get that one rage moment where you're trying to make a very like smart decision, or the type of decision that will get you remembered in the rest of the, you know, in the rest of the community for the legendary shit that you just tried to do. And I'm not gonna say which trick it was, just to be suffice that it was something extremely stupid that I probably need a little bit more practice to do. But that rage came full on, like fangs bared all the time. And as soon as I started going for it, I realized, no, this is not a good idea. Let me stop now before I die. And, just sometimes you got to keep it in check.
Would you say, have you become more cautious over your tricking career, or does it you still just get into it?
I've become more cautious, but it's still there. Like, I've become more cautious in the sense that, like, I learned to listen to my body a bit more when it comes down to certain movements and just how you land and how you kind of go into certain tricks. But I also know full well that my body has its own pattern for landing stuff, and whenever it feels something, it will go through with it. If it doesn't feel it, it'll either bail or it'll kind of redirect its energy in terms of like where it wants to go. And at that point, you just let it go. Like, you let it do what it's got to do, because that's the best way for you to save yourself instead of trying to fight it and potentially fucking up your body beyond all belief. You know what I mean?
What do you mean specifically? You mean like if you're bailing a trick midway through, you're gonna fuck it up. Instead of like trying to fight against completing the trick, you mean just kind of
letting your body
run with it, what it needs to do?
Yep, exactly. That is the exact, like, honestly, that is the reason why if you've ever watched my landings and the shit that I've done, excuse my language, but if you've ever watched my landings and how I land, and everybody knows that there's a very weird level of how I land and doing stuff that by normal standards you should not be able to land without tearing or destroying something.
Yeah,
that is literally me letting my body just do as it needs to do to save itself.
Well, you've also told me about some of the mad shit you've done over the years. Like, when, I can't remember the exact specifics, but you had like a motorcycle accident, and then shortly afterwards you were trying things that you should not have been trying. Do you want to get into that real quick?
We can go over those. I can name some stupid stuff that has happened. Actually, there's one that I'm pretty sure not too many people know about, but I'll explain this one because this was kind of the defining moment of my tricking career, I guess, for me. So I want to say 10 years ago, I was at a gym, and I was doing round off triple full because that was the only triple I had at the time. So I wanted to like stomp it and get it down. So we all know I punch super high, stupidly high for no good reason. So I punched really high to make sure I had enough time to land. And my feet came down and just swung under.
No.
And my head and my neck actually hit the edge of the spring floor and the concrete at the same time. So literally, I necked myself hitting the edge of the spring floor and the concrete.
That's fucking nuts.
I got up, walked about 10 feet. My lights went out. I just collapsed. I woke up in the hospital. Doctor said, you have 3 small, like, little fractures in, your neck because you landed with your full weight. They said you should probably not tumble for about 3 or 4 months. I was like, okay. I went back the next day to go get my stuff. I saw the spring floor, and I decided to throw it again.
Oh,
and I stopped it. And for all of you out there, please don't make the same stupid decision that I did. Please let your body rest. I'm begging you to listen to me now. But I think for me, that was a defining moment where I kind of, for myself, I was just like, I really must love this sport to do something incredibly stupid like this. And it's just been a ride, And yes, you are right. I did get into a motorcycle accident. I've been in a few vehicle accidents, but the motorcycle accident, I guess, was kind of the worst. Not only because I actually was launched into the air when I got hit, and thank God for tricking, because the minute my body hit the air, my body legit went into backflip mode, and it saved me from landing on my neck. because my body hit the air, curled up, and then slowly released as I dropped, like I would if I bailed.
Do you know how fast were you going? And did you hit like the side of a car or
No.
like?
So I was actually at a standstill. I was waiting to make a left-hand turn. The truck hit the back of me. I was actually standing still, so my body hit the air, flipped up, and my body literally just went like crunched into this, and then slowly opened up as I came down to kind of drop myself from without hurting myself, because I've had like when you bail or do something like that, your body recognizes how to handle it. So the good thing is that I opened up well enough for me to slow my like velocity coming down without panicking. I did actually end up hitting the tailpipe. So I did catch a small burn from the tailpipe, but all in all, no injuries. I came out of that with no injuries. I'm sorry. I had a slight concussion. And then a couple days later, I was battling.
You've been through some absolutely mental
I was battling because, so there are reasons why I went to battle, and I'll explain them. So, for one, that bike was bought with the money from the first Red Bull tournament from the Red Bull throwdown tournament that I won. I bought my first vehicle. That was my first vehicle that I paid for with that money. I had that bike for 3 years, almost 4 years. Like, that was my other lifesaver. Like, I took that bike everywhere. And then somebody destroyed it. Like, I was pissed. I was hurt. And within that time frame, my cat of 14 years, who I'd had since I was like 10, he had organ failure the Friday morning that I was supposed to fly to Adrenaline, and I actually had to miss the flight to go put him to sleep. And my mind kind of just went like blank, because not only did I lose my bike, which was one of my biggest, my biggest things, but I lost my that was my son. Like I raised him from like this little thing that fits into the palm of your hand into this little bit of an asshole who, helped me during a lot of rough times. And so I went to battle because I needed somewhere to be instead of being at home feeling sorry for myself. And it helped me out. Now, granted, my body did not like me after that, and I understand why. I probably should have been like chilling the fuck out. But having that ability to go trick and just hang out with everybody and to kind of keep my mind from imploding also kind of put me more into like why I love this sport so much, because everybody at that point knew. I guess they kind of knew, because I had made a post about it. I had said something about it, and the community basically just helped me to feel at home. They helped me to feel like I was like, okay, we understand what's going on with you, dude. Just we're here for you. You know what I mean? Like the DMV fam. That was actually an Adrenaline event, and the Adrenaline crew, like everybody there, helped me to kind of relax and kind of take that tension out of my body, so that by the time I got home, I was still upset. I was still sad, but I felt loved at that point. I felt loved by the community, and that's what helped me. So
that's awesome. I think that's one of the best things, really, which everyone talks about with tricking, with gatherings, just kind of just the support and the feeling of belonging. Like I most felt that it wasn't a proper Neo gathering. It was like Neo 2.5 that just me and Phil Gibbs went to. And there were just, it was like 30 people or so. That's the most I ever felt like I belonged. Like everyone in the gym was friends. Like every single person knew every single other person. It was amazing.
Dude, yeah, that's beautiful. That's like one of the most beautiful things is like being able to go to an event and just like having that sense of, love, and having that sense of like, just, you can be you with a whole bunch of other people who are being them and not be judged for that. because at the end of the day, you're all a bunch of people running around in your underwear throwing dangerous ass flips for no good reason, just because you want to piss off gravity.
Yeah, kick in the air.
What can be better than that?
Grown men kick in the air.
Recklessly kick in the air.
Taking it so seriously.
But I mean, it's a time though.
Yeah, it's dope shit.
All right, Will, I got a question for you.
Okay.
I got this one written down because I wanted to know. So, what's your most embarrassing tricking experience or tricking hammering experience? When's it gone really bad?
Oh.
That's a good question.
I gotta figure this one out because there's been many of them. Damn. All right, I think. All right, so I'll share this one because this was from like the very beginning. So it wasn't necessarily. I guess it wasn't really a tricking experience, but it was more of a martial arts experience. And this comes with just me being new in my crew. Me being new with Gabby, Scarlett, Carla, Javier, Renee, everybody. We were doing forms, and we were training them to compete. And your boy went ham, and about midway through, I think I did a gainer. And your boy tooted so loud that it actually, like, I tooted so loud, and it was in the hallway, like in the gym, you heard it reverberate a little bit. And it actually helped me to land the gainer because when I released the gas, the pressure just pushed me up that little half an inch, and I landed. And I was like, but you tooted. And I was like, yeah, I did. I didn't live that one down for a couple of days. It was fine. It was cool. That's probably my most favorite one. That's my most favorite one. I love that one. That was a beautiful moment in history for me.
What's yours, Kojo?
Yeah, I actually want to hear that.
I don't know. I'm always disgracing myself. I did. There was one of them was in the hooked battles, actually. I just tricked. So I tricked well because the year before I'd lost to Chris Afonso when he won hooks. I lost to him, and then the next year I came up against him again, and it went great. I killed it. I did triple cork in the battle, and I landed all my combos, and I won. And I was so hype afterwards that I didn't think about my next battle that was coming up. And then when I did that one, it was just this really tragic combo where I tried to do like an aerial crash moon to like a gainer crash moon, and every trick in the combo went completely wrong. All of my kicks were like shin height, and I was like flopping around, and I tried to split. I think it was aerial to split or some shit at the end. It went completely wrong. It just all went wrong. Yeah, I tried to block that one out though, so I don't even remember it that clearly. I never watched the video back. I can't watch myself in battles. I never watch the videos back.
Dude, that's wild. That's super wild.
They don't go so well.
My one of my most embarrassing moments wasn't. I mean, the one that always comes to mind for me, because I don't fully remember it, so I've definitely got the fear as a result of it. It was one of the hooked gatherings, and I was definitely under the influence. I've been.
Why? It's always hooked gathering. It's always hooked.
I mean, it's Amsterdam, So anyway, there were some drinks involved. There were some things involved. And I remember going outside, and I didn't have a clue what was going on. I was absolutely out of it. Just been drinking a lot, And I walked out, and I wanted to just be like completely undercover. I just wanted to go out, smoke a cigarette in peace, and then go back inside, back to my little bubble of all my pals who were also completely fucked up. And immediately after I walked through the doors, there's a big group of German and Austrian trickers. And so I stood like a weird distance away from them. If someone's near you, but they're not far enough away for them to like clearly want to be on their own, but they're not close enough to like be trying to incorporate themselves into the group.
Oh Lord, no, I get that. I
was just kind of there, and I kept looking at them because I was kind of worried that they were going to incorporate me. But I think they might have seen that as like me wanting to be involved in the group. So I'm just there trying to smoke this cigarette, just trying to enjoy my life. And then they started talking to me, and everything was just like, it was all happening so fast. And I don't remember what I did, but I remember every single time they would say something to me. I had no idea what I said in response, but they would just look at me for ages afterwards and just kind of look quite uncomfortable. And then I was halfway through this cigarette, and I just kind of freaked out a little bit. Because I was like, I'm making a fool of myself here. I need to make an escape. And I kind of just went, I need to go. And I just put the cigarette out and walked back inside.
There's always so much of that at Hooked Gathering. Like, if ever I have like a space cake or something, it's just you're walking around the gathering and people are like greeting you, and it's like, you kind of keep going. That's my tactic. Just if you don't stop walking, then you're good. You just gotta keep going.
Dude, it's too much. It's way too much.
Hooked is a beautiful time. That's just what we all know. It's a beautiful time.
Oh, I love it. That's a really good topic. I have had combos and stuff where there was one time at Adrenaline. I think it was the same time when I was battling Alex D. Every single thing that I was doing was just going wrong.
I remember that. I think I was there for that too.
And then I ended up blowing my calf out and thought I'd like actually popped my calf.
Bruh, like when you went down, like I think my biggest thing was like I was about to I legit saw it happening. I was like, holy hell, like what the hell did I just see? And then like my instinct was to like run over and like just be like, fuck, and just be like yo, somebody grab this man, like every stretcher available, like but I will say that was also one of the times where I feel like I've seen the community come together really hard, like really well, because everybody just came over, stopped the battles, didn't, just came over, made sure you were good, wanted to make sure that everything was perfectly fine. And the fact that you continued to battle after that, like, it spoke volumes. Like, it spoke volumes.
It was stupid. I should have just stopped. But I was like, because once it had calmed down, like, it was one of the most intense muscle pains I've ever had in my life. And I've genuinely never felt anything quite like it. My leg was like, it felt like my muscle was like contorting, and it was just fucking me up. I think I just had too much caffeine, and I was quite nervous because I don't get nervous before battles usually, but when I'm battling Alex D, it really got to me.
I don't know. I absolutely understand that.
Well, what about you for battles? Like you've made quite a name for yourself as the wolf, the lone wolf that battles.
Like, you mean like just in terms of like who I've battled, or like how I see it?
No. Like, have you? Do you get nervous before battles, or like when you put the contacts in, does it kind of become like you get to step into this character and kind of forget what it is that you do? I don't know. Like, what's the mentality when you go into it?
Okay, so I will say like early on the mentality was I got like hella nervous because like honestly, like as a battling experience, like I actually didn't start putting the contacts in until probably around like I didn't start putting them into battles probably around until like 2011. It was like 2011. Before that, I had actually battled, and every time I battled, I got nervous. I got nervous as hell because just the people that I battled scared the living life out of me.
Yeah.
Because I didn't start off battling like your friends or people in the gym. No, like
you went straight.
I think my first battle, if anybody remembers, I think my first battle was Corey Brown, like old school. Like that was my first actual battle.
Oh.
And then I think and then you had like little battles here and there, and then I was, I've battled against generally a lot of the pioneers of the sport, and every time I did, like I got hella nervous, but I was glad to be nervous because that's what made me calm down a bit more. because I knew that the minute I got nervous was the minute I was about to have like the most amount of fun I could possibly ever have. Like that is where and then when I put the contacts in, that doubles by about 7. Because there have been times where I put the contacts in and I actually can't see well, because with the contacts there is a little bit of a cloud, and then with the bright lights it kind of throws you off. So then at that point I'm not focused on the crowd, I'm focused on that one point where I'm just like, I'm about to have fun, I'm about to just land some shit and land and have this conversation with this other person. And then when, like, by the time the battle's over is when my eyes kind of, like, adjust to the contacts and I can see everybody. And then that's when I'm just like, it was fun. Like, that's where my mind goes when I battle. Like, I will admit that within the last couple of years, the people that I've battled have scared the living, like, they've actually made me very nervous. When I battled Alex D, actually, I actually got nervous for that, and I battled him once before. I battled him at Red Bull. This time around, I got a little bit more nervous because with the fact that he had just come back into his own power, and it was something like we'd never seen, and that made me nervous, and I was like, all right, I'm getting this back, like, let's go. And even though I honestly, I felt like I did really terrible during that battle, that was probably one of the most fun times I've had, you know. But yeah, battling like that is it's fun for me. When I get super nervous, that's when I know I'm about to have like the most amount of fun I could possibly have ever. And it's just a grand time. Like that makes me do dumb stuff. So
what do you think about the format of tricking battles in general as well? Like, do you think they could be... Is there anything you'd change? If you were in charge of, let's say, the hooked battles, what would you change about them?
To be completely honest, I feel... The only thing I feel like I would change more is just... the way that... I guess the way that, like, you see combos versus, like, big power tricks. Because I feel like certain combos, especially if they're done really well and really clean... again, will overtake a huge power combo or a huge power move that maybe, is not as clean. Now, if it's your first time doing it and you actually happen to stomp it, I'll take that over the clean combo. Like, because that's just a whole ass moment. Like, that's a vibe in itself. But I think that's really the only thing I would change. I think it's just also a matter of, like, if you're going to judge technicality, then you need to judge technicality. If you're going to judge style, then you need to judge style. If you judge, like, let's say tumbling, judge the tumbling. And I feel like it kind of gets a lot, like, mashed around when you try to judge way too many things in one particular battle. I feel like there should be a set, like, maybe 3 to 5 things that you can judge in a battle, and it should just kind of stay in that format a little bit. But that's just me.
So, like, judges for specific things.
Yeah.
I think that's something, it's a bit of a tough one at the moment in tricking. We don't really have many good judging types, because lots of the people who are deep into it are, like, competing, and then people who used to be deep into it aren't at the events because they don't really trick anymore. So it's kind of...
I get that.
Maybe if events can, like, fly out people specifically to judge more in the future.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I'm not gonna lie, like, I've judged before, and it's extremely difficult. Like, and I know at least on my end, it's extremely difficult for me to judge, only because, like, I get hype at everything because I've worked, I work at everything as much as I can. Like, tumbling was my biggest thing, being technical, trying to be stylish. The only thing that, like, the one thing I feel like for me as a judge, I'm just like, listen, like, I think the biggest thing is your character, and when you're on the floor, like, if you can do all the moves ever and do them well, that's perfectly fine. Like, you're a godsend for that. But if your character, as you're battling, if you're not having fun, if you're not showing yourself, if you're not, like, I guess, interacting, that for me just it makes my hype for you go from like here to like here, because I'm like, come on, like show me what you have, show me who you are as you're battling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's interesting. I feel like the whole presence of people during battles and stuff is something that I guess it is taken into consideration. But like for me, I don't know the answer to this. I guess it's more just like amusing. How much weight should be put on that during a battle? Because like it feels as though like there's two ways to judge it. You can either look at just the technical, and then you can look at the emotive side, because there's two things that you've mentioned there. There's like the presence and the way that you're interacting with the crowd, but you also said that like if it's a whole moment, if somebody lands a trick and it's their first time, then that should be scored higher than if somebody did it but they've been able to do it for years. Because I don't necessarily agree with that, because like the skill level doesn't change, and just because it is hype, but it's like if someone does the exact same move but they do it better because they've been doing it for years, but then the next person tries and they land it, but it's almost like, it's a hype moment just because they've landed it. Like I don't necessarily think that should be scored higher.
No, I agree. I can understand that. I can understand that. I think that's also. I feel like that for me, like I think. Well, I'll say this. I feel like if that happens, like it's your first time landing it, and that's something where damn, how do I want to put this? Because I have many ways of seeing this in my head, and I'm trying to figure out the best way to explain it. I think that if it's something you can do really well for years and you can make clean, and you throw it and somebody else throws it and lands it and it's their first time, I feel like that first time holds a little bit more significance, only because it's like the first time, and especially if you do it during a battle like that, and that adds on top of it. If you get what I mean, it adds to kind of the overall feel of the battle itself.
I think that's fair enough, but I don't think it's fair that that person should then get scored higher. And like, let's say for example, it's like quadful. If two people do quadful, and let's say me versus you, I've never done quadful before, and I do it, and I don't do it quite as well as you, but then you do it, and because you've done it hundreds of times, you stomp it and you make it look easy. Just because mine does have more significance, don't get me wrong, it's hype and it's good for the spectators, but I think if you've done it better than me, then you should be scored higher than me, so you should win that round.
Okay, no, I understand that too. I get that too. I get that. Yeah. It's also, I guess it's also kind of like depending on what you're doing. I guess. I also feel like it also depends on what move you're doing. Because at this point, I think everybody can do what everybody else can do, save for a few people. Save for a few people.
Yeah.
So I guess it's also kind of a weird area, in my eyes.
I think the way you present it though should come into it. Like let's say Will did a better quad fall than you, but if straight away, like no hesitation, Omid, you were against Will, and you were like, "Oh, I got you," and you just went straight into it, even if it wasn't as good, then I think maybe you feel like as a comeback and you presented it in a cool way, then as a judge, I'd give that a bit of wiggle. I'd say, maybe, because it's like, even if you didn't land it as well, just if you do it as like a comeback straight away, you should kind of get a little bit of a bonus for that, I think.
I guess it just depends. It's like those blurred lines. And because I agree with what you're saying, because it's like, it's kind of a ballsy thing to do, but it depends on how much better Will's is.
Yeah.
And also, again, how he does it. Because like, I don't know, we're always talking about how there's certain things that are kind of gray areas when it comes to battles. Like, if I did the same combo as Johan in a battle against Johan, no matter what combo it was, I would probably win the round just because nobody would expect it of me. Even though he's been doing it and he's almost perfected it. It's because everybody's got that expectation of him, and they always expect him to go one level up. You know what I mean? So, I don't really think that's fair, depending on how much better the other version is.
I agree with what you're saying. I agree with what you're saying, though. I agree with that. Like I said, I also think it's just depending on what the move is and how the battle itself is going. I think that's ultimately what's going to play into it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
judging is such a hard thing.
Yeah, it is. No, it absolutely is. Like, it absolutely is. Like, being that, like, I think, like, being a judge in that case is probably going to be one of the hardest things, because that's where you kind of have to, like, instead of, like, being hyped for the battle itself, you have to really be decisive and really be, like, not nitpicky, but you kind of have to look at the very fine details. Like, you have to look at the finesse at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think I'd like to see more creative types of battles in the future. Like, maybe if you're not allowed to do any double twists or above, it's like you've got to make all your combos and you can only do like singles, because that'd be interesting. Because at the moment,
the funny thing is that, and that reminds me of what like Hook did this past year, where they had like the I think it was a 7x7 or 4x4 box where you had to do a combo in the box and not go outside of it. That was dope. I love that concept. I almost died during that concept, but it was a dope concept. Like, I actually enjoyed that. That was fun. Like, that made you want to do stuff that, like, to be in that, to have that kind of technicality within yourself. And that was actually a really great idea.
So once lockdown's over and we're all free to travel again and stuff, like what's the plan for Mr. Kid Wolf, the Kid Wolf Coneys? Are you trying to battle again? Are you trying to travel?
Honestly, I'm definitely gonna try to battle again. I know I've spent the last couple of months kind of reworking a lot of stuff. Just, basics, as well as being able to hit combos a little bit more efficiently. I feel like I haven't really been able to do that over the last year, due to injuries and just kind of, I guess, mindset. But I definitely am trying to battle, definitely trying to go to, events and just really, I guess, get back more into the spirit of having fun with it, instead of like being more so about, Instagram and YouTube and trying to be like, and I guess trying to keep up with the community itself, instead of just doing it for like how I want to do it. Because I feel like that for me has been a really big thing. And I will admit that I've gotten lost in that sauce. And I really want to come back from that and just go back to being like how I want to be, especially when it comes down to battling, So.
Yeah, I mean, that's when you do the best stuff anyway. Like, me and Omid have both been kind of going through that quite a lot the last couple of years. Like, you can't really try and chase what the kids are doing, because you're fighting a losing battle to start with, because your body's not gonna be regenerating like theirs is. And also, you have the most to offer when you do the tricks that you really like, when you do the combos you imagine in your head, and like you bring your vision to life instead of trying to copy someone else's vision and doing a worse job of it.
No, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree on that. And I think that's, it's funny though, that's actually funny. That's how the 99 Scrolls came about though. That's honestly how that came about. Like, and the funny thing is that, the 99 Scrolls thing came out in like 2014. But that's always, I guess that's also kind of what my whole career has been about, just doing the stuff that I like doing and doing the crazy stuff that nobody else wants to do. Or doing the stuff that most people think that you'll probably, destroy your whole body within seconds of trying to do it, and still doing it just to, be that guy.
You love us.
Yeah, he fucking loves it. But question, have we seen the end of what we would know as the Scrolls era? Because you're an adrenaline athlete, right?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not?
I'm not.
I thought you were.
No, I have not been an adrenaline athlete since last year. I honestly just decided to go do my own, I wanted to do my own thing. And, like I said, and I love McGuire. I love, the Kane family, and they've always been extremely, kind to me. They've always made me feel at home. They've always been really beautiful people. I personally wanted to do my own thing, because I honestly realized at a certain point that I always kept putting my own thing on the back burner while trying to do a lot of other things. And I really just wanted to take the time to do my own thing, put my own self out there, kind of go in the route that I always imagined in my head.
Yeah.
And over the last year or so, that's kind of where I've been going, as well as taking the time to kind of rework my mindset when it comes down to my tricking, my style, and just my general like feeling of it. And as for the 99 scrolls being over, I actually I don't feel like the 99 scrolls is over just yet. There's a lot more coming. I will say that, because the only reason the 99 scrolls kind of faded out was because during the time frame, like from I think really the last true 99 scrolls sampler to now, there's just been a lot of like different changes in life, trying to get more on Instagram, trying to do more on YouTube, and trying to really build a base, with establishing myself as a battler, as a figurehead. And I took all that so seriously that it affected my training, as well as just stuff with home and life. And the 99 scrolls kind of disappeared because I was either hurt or my mind wasn't in the place to do the 99 scrolls. And the funny thing is that people always say, people tell me now, like, you're getting stronger, you're looking better than you were before. And I was like, I guess. To me, I feel like that's not true, in the sense that the time period where the 99 scrolls was probably the most mentally free area I was, because I was just clear and seeing everything as it was going. Now, in terms of power and technicality, yes, I've gotten better. But in terms of freeing movement, I feel like that was the era, and I'm trying to really bring that back. So I feel like the 99 scrolls now is going to be a lot more showing of everything, instead of kind of picking one area or this area or that area or that area. It's going to actually come with everything and be a complete and true 99 scrolls. So that's my take on that. The other thing is that the 99 scrolls really was a concept where I'll explain the story of the 99 scrolls, because I get this question a lot. The 99 scrolls started as a very stupid conversation while I was in Korea for Red Bull Kick It with Bagels, Kier, I think Alan Dagan. I was there with him, Isaiah Flores. I was there with them. When we were all in Korea one night, sitting on a roof, we were talking about the most stupid combos you could ever pull in tricking. Like, we were talking, cheat 14, wrap 12, lotus D-leg twist. Now, 2014, that was a stupid combo. Nobody would have tried that. 2020, we've got cork in, swing, cork. So, we were just coming up with dumb stuff. And the reason why I wanted the 99 scrolls is because I wanted to document the very stupid combos that we could pull off. And even with there being like the shred of it being a possibility, let's see if we can make it happen. And it just became me trying to do dumb shit for a bit. It was fun. It was a great time. Like, I was happy. I was happy with my life. And I still, honestly, I feel like now we're seeing the 99. I'm seeing the 99 scrolls as I envisioned it, even if I'm not the one doing it. And I think just continuing the 99 scrolls for myself is just showing that, like, there's still that level of freeing, of craziness, of doing shit that you shouldn't probably be doing, but you're going to do it anyway because you are a beautiful individual and you're allowed to do that. So,
like the double D leg. Is that gonna make a comeback?
And, the funny part is that, like, I've been like back and forth on that for years. Like, I've been back and forth on that for years before, like, when I first saw Hans do it. or attempt it, and I had only just decided to recently retry it and and I felt like I got really close to it, and then I took a break off of it because I was afraid of like destroying my ankles just from the impacting, and then I see Johannes do it from cart full, and I was like, holy hell, he's gonna land it before I do. And then Zen comes out of nowhere and just like stomps the living life out of it like 5 months later. I'm like,
the cart full one.
That's okay though.
The cart full one still hasn't been landed though.
Oh, it hasn't.
It's the sort of thing you could train. You just need a gym with like a resi pit or something.
Yeah, like I was using mats, so
yeah,
that was like the closest I got to it. The funny thing is that I actually got my my D leg double 9 from trying double leg. That's how that came into existence. Surprisingly. So, I mean, it's just stuff like that like it's beautiful to me. Like when you go to do one thing and you kind of come out doing something extremely different. I will say that there are still tricks that I really want to attempt to do. We're gonna see. There's one that's been on my list for probably the last 2.5 years that it's gonna take. It's honestly, it'll probably take another year before I actually want to attempt it, like full send. But when I do, like that might be like one of my. I feel like that's gonna be a whole time of like stupidity.
Oh shit! Do we get? Is it a secret?
I will say this. It does have to do with reverse rise.
You're gonna do corking out of it or back out?
Are you gonna reverse?
We might try.
Yo, reverse racing, please.
We might try. The thing is that I have to like. So the thing with reverse rise is that it's a very sketch setup for many reasons, because the amount of power you actually get out of it is staggering. And the other issue is that it's, unless you learn how to literally fine line balance it as you're swinging up into it, it's going to swing you inverted far off to the side. So basically you'll be frisbeeing yourself the minute you swing if you're not like very conscious of how you're going into it. And I haven't tried full in since I damaged my wrist. So that's going to be something that I have to get back into doing that before I even attempt that. But that is one of the goals that I want to have happen. But there's going to be a lot of stuff that I feel like I really want to try, but I'm going to be very cautious about going into. So
you got it, Bridget.
There was also tricks that I was trying to I was actually trying to do before I screwed myself on double side flips for opening up too early. I was trying to do double side pop D-legs. That was one of my biggest goals.
That's a lot. That's a lot on the knees.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot on everything.
But that was years ago. So, again, like I still have these in my head. They're still, even if I don't land them, just to make the attempt at them is, and it will be a momentous time for me, So, but we're trying out here.
Wow. That's awesome. Yeah, you're definitely an inspiration for the aging trickers out there. I mean, we're getting a bit. We're not 30 yet, but it's awesome he's still pushing. It's sick.
I will say this: Mateo has been my biggest inspiration for this one. Mateo and all the other old ones have been my biggest inspiration, because if they're still doing this at 34, 35, 36, why am I gonna stop now? Like, what reason is this for? Like, no, we're gonna keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe you can go for a lot longer. Listen to a podcast with Tony Hawk, and he's still skating. He's still skating 3 times a week, and he's in his 50s, and he's still going.
I know, it's wild though. And that's the thing is I feel like when people tell you oh well, you need to chill out, you're not as surprised. I'm like, yeah, you're right. there's just a number there. Like, honestly, I feel like that's the reason why I've been able to continue on as long as I have. Like, and even though, like, and I'm not gonna lie, my diet kind of sucks. Honey buns on a consistent probably is not the best diet, and that's fine. I'm willing to accept that in my life, but it's also a matter of mentality. Like, if you I feel like unless it's a career-ending injury, you can continue to do it as long as your mind is there for it. As long as your mind's there, and even if it is a possible career-ending injury, we've still seen people come back from career-ending injuries and demolish the game. You know, so at that point, I think it's just a matter of your mindset and how much you truly want what it is you're seeking. And in terms of tricking, you know, we're also people that don't listen to good common sense or reason, because when we break an ankle, we train the other side. When we tear a ligament, we do the baby tricks without doing the baby tricks. Like, I mean, I can't count how many times we've probably destroyed ligaments, torn muscle tissue, broken bones, concussed the living life out of ourselves, and have just been like, well, I'll see you at session next week with a bottle of ibuprofen and a Red Bull. Like,
well, I think Mateo's going to be the example, because he tore his ACL. I know he recently had surgery, and he's recovered from that. So just knowing Mateo and his mindset, I'm sure he's going to get back and get better than ever, even though he's sick. So
and that's the thing. Yeah. Like, and it's funny though. And the funny part about that is that one of the people who actually kind of put that into my head was Nick Vale, because he tore his ACL, his MCL, his PCL in the same knee, 2 or 3 times, and Sam Caspio did the same thing. Yeah. And you know, Nick Vale came back after each time and continued on until he made the decision for himself to kind of, like, you know, ease out of it for his own health. And I respect that. Sam Caspio is prime example of that, because the man's he's probably been down he was down for a total of maybe 2 years almost.
Yeah. Now
he came back, and now he's just looking as clean and as spry as ever. And I mean, like I said, Omid, I know you've had you know, a harmful injury. Kojo, so have you. And at the end of the day, like, we've put it to a point where we love tricking more than we were upset about being injured. So that resolve in itself, I think, is what keeps people going. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think I think when you have the best mindset for it, it's going to push you until you actually can say, like, all right, this is my time to, you know, hang up the shorts and put on the big boy pants.
Well, I mean, the way I see it, I like to think, like, for as long as I can, I'd like to trick. But then when I'm older, when my joints can't take it, I'd like to move over to the trampoline. Because on gymnastic trampolines, it's such a small amount of impact. I've seen people who are, like, pretty old, like in their 50s, people in their 60s who can do, like, pretty high trampolining, because it's such low impact and it's all about control. So I'd love to just move to the trampoline and just work on all kind of weird trampoline combos when my body.
I feel you. I think when I get to that point, I can't lie. Me and trampolines don't get along well, because I already jump high, and when I get on a trampoline, my whole existence becomes, like,
too much,
terrifying. I think when I get to that point, my personal thing, I'm gonna go out into the woods somewhere, build me a floor and a house, and just train, like, the most slow, basic movement kicks while still throwing a few flips in there. I think that's what's gonna be for me. Like, I will become a sage out in the woods, and I am very proud to say that. I will become.
You have your own pack of wolves and a little hut.
Listen, you know, I will have that. Like, you know, this is not a game. Like, this is going to be a reality right quick. You know, we're gonna have this happen. So.
Oh, just honey bun wrappers everywhere.
Listen. My cellar in my house in the woods is going to have 2 things. Honey buns? I'm sorry, 3 things. Honey buns, bacon, and cinnamon whiskey. That's it.
That's all you need. I'm just imagining you becoming like a half man, half wolf, just in your basement with those things, like devouring them, face in there.
Listen. A man can dream. Okay, he can dream.
But yo, we've got to get to our live shortly, so we're gonna wrap it up there. Thank you so much for joining us, Will.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Honestly, it was a great combo, great talks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, pleasure. And if you want to check out any of Will's social medias, the links to all of those will be in the description. Make sure you go and check him out. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah, like I said, I'm glad I could drop some knowledge, hang out with the boys for a bit. You know, it's been a time. I miss you boys.
We'll hopefully see you soon once this bloody calms itself down.
Once it packs in.
Hopefully. That's all we can hope for right now.